So for today's video, we are going to talk about cruise etiquette and manners. Because believe it or not, there are some cruise passengers out there that get on the cruise and think that they are conducting themselves well and being nice, when the reality is they are making themselves extremely dislikable. As somebody that has not only worked for multiple cruise lines, I also cruise for a living. In fact, this month I have 5 cruises with 5 different lines. I'm actually very excited. Nevertheless, I have seen it all when it comes to interactions between passengers and crew. I'm talking about backhanded compliments, passive-aggressive statements being made, and even passengers trying to butter up and woo crew members in order to expedite things and get what they want. And that's not exactly a good thing. So for today's video, I'm going to give you 5 habits that crew members do not like when it comes to passengers. By the way, today's video is sponsored by DraftKings, but more on that later. Number 1, showing up to your cruise cabin too early. Trust me, I get it. You go on a cruise, you probably just flew from another state, maybe even another country, and the first thing you want to do on your cruise is drop off your bag and see where you're going to be living for the duration of your cruise. What many may not understand at times is that there was another group of passengers, another batch of cookies, if you will, that was on board just before you arrived. And the room needs to be cleaned and scrubbed down and make sure it is up to par into your satisfactory. That way you have the best experience possible. So when you as the passenger try to go to your room and you try to rush the room steward into letting you in, it disrupts this process. It slows it down, and you trying to hurry up and get in there could cause potential trouble for the crew member, or your room may not be as clean as you'd like it to be, and then you go complain to customer service when at the end of the day you were the problem because you rushed the crew members and everybody else that was making your room all spick and span and shiny and new again. Number 2, asking crew members to break the rules for you. Now, there is a fine line between all of this. Some of this is on a spectrum, if you will. There's nothing wrong with asking a crew member to maybe give you an extra 2 or 3 pillows or towels, because that's not necessarily breaking the rules. What we are talking about here is asking to be able to drink when you are not of the correct age limit, or asking somebody you're sailing with to be able to drink underage, or you trying to cut in line somewhere, or trying to get access to a lounge that maybe you didn't book the correct cabin or stateroom or suite to be able to have access to. All of these things could potentially get the crew member in trouble, and it puts a lot of pressure on the crew member no matter how much money you give them or how polite you are trying to be towards them in order to get what you want. Number 3, leaving a mess in the cabin hallways or other public areas on board the cruise ship. I'm just going to be straight up and say it. Some of you out there have some bad brought upsies. You think because you're on your cruise and the crew are nice and expeditious when it comes to keeping the ship spick and span, that you can just leave bananas and fluids and whatever it is that you want all over the cruise ship. That is wrong. You have to clean up for yourself, because when you do this, it creates more of a burden and a workload for the crew members that, mind you, are already working all day, every day. And some of them, if they are lucky, they may get off a half a day or a couple hours to relax and unwind. And well, when you start creating this trouble and you're putting out food and trash and stuff that could potentially be rotting in places that it doesn't need to be, you are ruining their day. Now, before we get to point number 4, let's go ahead and pay some bills and give all of you fine folk an opportunity to maybe make a little bit of money and talk about today's sponsor, DraftKings. I've teamed up with DraftKings. That way you can always have just a little fun, whether you are on board a cruise or sitting on your couch at home. So as many of you know, I absolutely love traveling, whether I'm taking an expedition to Antarctica or a standard cruise over to the Caribbean. However, as you can imagine, when traveling, there is always going to be a little downtime, whether you're at the airport or even in a cruise terminal. So this is why I'm happy to have DraftKings available to use. That way I can keep myself entertained and possibly make a little moolah. There are literally hundreds of real money games to choose from. I'm talking about slots, blackjack, roulette, you name it. Of course, they also have other exciting games available like Big Bank Breakout, as well as Rey Picante del Pollo to turn up the heat. Right now, new players, listen up, play $5 and get 500 spins over 10 days on Cash Eruption games. Yes, you heard me correctly, that's 500 spins for just $5. Don't miss out. Take this moment to become a king with DraftKings. DraftKings, thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Now, let's go ahead and get back to it. For number 4, not following signs, instructions, or announcements. Now, this is a pet peeve that I personally have because, for example, right now, I am on an MSC cruise ship, and this area that I'm at right now, this beautiful area, is an adults-only area. But guess what is here? Kids. non-adults, and for some reason the passengers have taken it upon themselves. They have the gall, the nerve, the entitlement to think that the rules simply do not apply to them. There is a reason why there are rules, and if we don't follow the rules, well, we are living with the animals. It's very simple. If you're told to sit somewhere, maybe during an event like a show or something of that nature, sit in that area. If you are told to get in a certain line for an excursion, get in that line. If you're told to get off the ship because your cruise is over, thank you for your payment, grab a cookie on your way out, you can go anywhere you want but you can't stay here, then you should do it. Why? Because all you're doing is slowing down the process, and you're being selfish at that point because you were only thinking about yourself and not the collective. I'm talking about the passengers and the crew members. Finally, for number 5, this is a big pet peeve that I think we all can agree on. This is not only about manners and etiquette and bad brought-upsies, it is about hygiene and keeping everybody safe. I am, of course, talking about people having poor hygiene on their cruise. For the love of God, take a shower. There's nothing wrong with it. The water is in the cabin for you to use. You have to cleanse yourself of your filth and all the partying and stuff that you're doing and eating on the cruise ship. People that go to the buffets, for example, that don't wash their hands, absolutely disgusting. And then because of people like this, the cruise lines get a bad rap because somebody didn't wash their hands before they went and ate their lobster bisque. And just like that, bam, you have what's called a GI outbreak. It's a gastrointestinal disease that causes people to have to go number 2 and potentially even vomit, and it spreads like wildfire. And you know what happens after that? It's a snowball effect. Then we have another pandemic situation where everybody has to mask up, and it's just not good for anybody. So word of the day, guys, for the love of God, take care of yourself, clean yourself up, and have good hygiene on board a cruise ship. Anywho, this is what we have for today's quick video. If I am missing any bad habits that cruise ship passengers exhibit, let me know in the comment section below, because I know there's a million of them. Maybe I'll make a part 2. Make sure you guys hit that like button on your way out, subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate all of you, I love all of you, and I'll see you later. Take it easy.